An advertisement was placed in the Salt Lake Tribune to find candidates to write a new history of the Mountain Meadows Massacre. Conducting the interviews was Frank James Singer, a New Jersey convert to the LDS Church and a successful California businessman who aimed to pin the blame on Brigham Young. Singer had clear motives, having already written a novel and screenplay about the massacre, with ambitions to turn the story into a film. He even prepared an acceptance speech for an Oscar. Will Bagley was the only applicant willing to pursue this narrative. Therefore, Bagley was hired for the job. Singer funded Bagley's research with approximately $250,000. By mid-1997, Singer was under investigation by state and federal authorities for suspected illegal business activities and tax evasion, and was also facing multiple lawsuits. His highly successful business had collapsed following a bitter divorce and allegations of fraud. Subsequently, Singer disappeared, leaving Bagley to complete the project on his own. And even though Singer employed Will Bagley to rewrite the story of the Mountain Meadows Massacre, Bagley insists that Singer did not sway his interpretation. Utilizing his literary prowess as an editor of several Western history volumes and as a columnist for the Salt Lake Tribune, Bagley narrates the massacre by dramatically integrating themes such as blood atonement and vengeance for the blood of the prophets. Gene A. Sessions, recognized for his expertise as a consultant on documentaries and investigative committees regarding the Utah War and the Mountain Meadows Massacre, and as a former president of the Mountain Meadows Association, shared a close personal friendship with Will Bagley. At a fair conference in 2013, Gene Sessions said, "In the case of Will Bagley, he started with the premise that Brigham Young ordered it done. So, if you decide that at the beginning, obviously, and then you can go back and find, oh, aha, see, oh yeah, see." And that's what, in my view, Bagley did. And I tried to change his mind about that for years as he was working on the book. I was pretty good friends with him, and we took a couple of trips to the Meadows together, and we had a lot of time to sit in the car together, and I could see him making that very mistake. Gene Sessions also shared that he reviewed his friend Will Bagley's manuscript for the University of Oklahoma Press. He recommended publishing it because he believed Will Bagley had conducted intense and exhaustive research, delving deeply to try and uncover details that Juanita Brooks missed in her 1950 book. Juanita Brooks tells us that no real evidence has been found to implicate these authorities before the massacre. Although Sessions was impressed by Bagley's research, he warned the press that the book was anti-Mormon and made it clear he did not agree with Bagley's conclusions. The crux of Bagley's argument for his book's importance is his alleged discovery of troubling new evidence that implicates President Brigham Young and Apostle George A. Smith of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as accessories to the massacre. Robert D. Crockett, a trial lawyer who reviewed Will Bagley's Blood of the Prophets, wrote, "Bagley's troubling new evidence, which separates his work from Brooks's, is simply a diary entry, dated the 1st of September 1857, in which Indian interpreter Dimmock Huntington describes a meeting purportedly held between himself, Brigham Young, and 12 Indian chiefs. Kanosh, the Pavant chief, Ammon and wife, Walker's brother, and 11 Pavants came in to see B&D and find out about the soldiers. Tutsi Gubbet, a Pieta chief, over 6 Pietas bands. Young Wool's another Pieta chief, and I gave them all the cattle that had gone to Cal. The South are out. It made them open their eyes. They say that you have told us not to steal. So I have, but now they have come to fight us, and you, for when they kill us, then they will kill you. They say they was afraid to fight the Americans and so would raise grain, and we might fight." For Bagley, this cryptic entry proves that the atrocity was not a tragedy but a premeditated criminal act. Blood of the Prophets tells us that if any court in the American West, excepting of course one of Utah's probate courts, had seen the evidence the Dimmock Huntington diary contained, the only debate among the jurors would have been when, where, and how high to hang Brigham Young. Bagley fabricated his so-called new evidence by replacing the word grain with allies, fundamentally changing the meaning of the text. This manipulation is both deceptive and a clear distortion of the truth. As a trial lawyer, Crockett evaluates the quality of Bagley's and Brooks's evidence and arguments in key areas. He notes that while trial lawyers may not be trained historians, they are skilled at assessing evidence and interpreting official actions. The massacre, its investigation, John D. Lee's trial, and the actions of various legal figures, presidents, cabinet members, judges, prosecutors, defense lawyers, jurors, marshals, and witnesses, all lend themselves to legal analysis. Crockett continues, Bagley is too confident in his evidence, if one can call much of what he relies on evidence. Too well thou tell'st a tale so ill, could be said of Bagley's work. Dark, macabre, and depressing, Bagley's work is not for the faint-hearted, who may have little knowledge of the actual events. Trial lawyer Robert D. Crockett's review is extensive but highly worthwhile. One of Bagley's book's greatest strengths is its captivating writing style, which immediately draws the reader into the core issues of the massacre. However, despite this engaging presentation, Blood of the Prophets is plagued by several critical issues. Misuse of sources. As stated before, Bagley misrepresents primary sources. For example, he wrongly interprets D.B. Huntington's journal and substitutes grain with allies to falsely suggest an alliance. This significant alteration misleads readers. Bagley also claims that Young rewarded Chief Tutsegabit for his involvement in the massacre by ordaining him into the higher priesthood. Huntington, whose diary Bagley misquoted to condemn Brigham Young, actually records that Young commissioned this Native American to preach the gospel and baptize among the house of Israel. Additionally, Bagley's chronology is problematic to the point of impossibility. Tutsegabit and Youngwoods could not have traveled from Salt Lake City to Mountain Meadows and back to Salt Lake City by September 16, 1857, or as Huntington notes, by September 10, 1857. Lack of balance. Bagley reports on William Hawley's objections to the massacre but fails to note that Hawley was one of the perpetrators. This omission affects the balance and reliability of the account. Speculative motives. Bagley's handling of Brigham Young's sermons on blood atonement further exemplifies his problematic approach. He takes Young's fiery rhetoric literally, ignoring scholarly interpretations that view these sermons as hyperbole. Bagley fails to provide any empirical evidence to show a direct link between Brigham Young's rhetoric and the massacre. Attempting to write a gripping story, Bagley exaggerates and sensationalizes the details beyond their actual significance throughout the entire book. Facts associated with the massacre become crucial when tied to prophecy, omens, signs, oaths, patriarchal blessings, or temple rituals. Facts become extremely important if they are dark and dirty, have hidden meaning, or hint at some insidious secret plot or conspiracy. In addition, Bagley creates a melodrama characterizing the Mormons as a sinister, evil, and deceptive people, while the governor and Indian agents who cooperate with the saints are weak, spineless dupes. The judges, military officers, and officials who challenge the Mormon theocracy he views as honorable, upright, respectable, courageous men. Another troubling aspect of Bagley's work is his pattern of insinuating criminal behavior by Mormons without providing solid evidence. For example, he refers to federal officials who died mysteriously and suggests Wakara may have been poisoned after disputes with Mormons, subtly hinting at Mormon involvement without concrete proof. Bagley also accuses Mormons of misusing federal funds to improve local roads while neglecting other routes, despite his own map showing these areas were not under Mormon jurisdiction. Additionally, he claims that illegitimate children were plentiful in southern Utah but offers no supporting evidence or explanation, contradicting claims that Mormon culture strictly punished adultery. Incomplete context. The book's depiction of interactions between Brigham Young and General Johnston omits important details, such as Johnston's troops covertly accepting a salt gift, which would have added context. W. Paul Reeve, assistant professor of history at Southern Virginia University, and Artis E. Parshall, independent researcher in Orem, Utah, put it best. Perhaps the real message in Blood of the Prophets is that, considering Bagley's extensive research, he could come up with no better evidence than Dimmock Huntington's journal to link Young to facilitating the murders. And to make even that unsustainable claim, he had to put a new word into Huntington's pen. Due to the extensive and skewed perception of Bagley's claims presented in his book, covering them all in one video isn't feasible. My hope is that when you come across those fervent assertions of new evidence or greater transparency, you will be compelled to deeply investigate, prayerfully consider all pertinent information and sources, and seek the truth with the diligence and discernment it demands.